welcome to my mudroom makeover. So the good news is I'm starting with a completely blank slate, which means I have a lot of creative freedom. But the bad news is I've never done anything like this before, and my goal is to transform this empty space into a functional and stylish mudroom. So let's see if I can make this happen. Before we get into my plans for this mud closet, I do want to show you guys how this closet looked when we first moved in. It had these bifold doors and a wire shelf at the top. Okay, let's redefine my plan for this mud closet. To optimize the closet space, I plan to divide it into 4 distinct sections using a very ambitious partition or divider. So let's start with the seating area. This spot would be to take off your shoes and just take a moment to breathe. Then we have the storage bench. This would be a multifunctional piece for storage and seating. Then we have the coat rack. This will be for hanging coats, jackets, and other outerwear. Up top, we'll have our top shelf for storing out of season items or less frequently used belongings. So I started removing the channels that were left from the bifold doors, and I also removed the quarter round that was right in front of it. After my victory dance, I then removed my baseboards simply because I needed the framework of my bench to be as flush to the wall as possible, and the baseboards, especially the quarter rounds, would get in the way and make it difficult to achieve that. I also didn't care about how the paint chipped off at the bottom. No one would ever see it except you guys that are watching this video. Now it's time for me to mark the height of my bench. I went with 19 inches, but I honestly forgot to calculate the height of my bench top and the finishing frame, which will make this bench almost 21 inches. I also used my step ladder to get a feel for the height, and for me, it was perfect. Next, I used a stud finder to mark where my studs were in the wall. I also used small pieces of tape to act as a more visual guide. This would definitely help me secure the bench to the studs in the wall. I then marked where I wanted to place my closet partition, which would essentially separate the seating area from the coat rack. My idea for the partition is very ambitious, but I hope I can get this done. So my plan is to have a coat rack on the left, and the middle area where the U shape is, that will be the seating area, and then to the right I will put extra storage. Before cutting out anything, I have to get accurate measurements so that I can cut down my 2x4s to the length of the closet. So I'm probably getting a lot of kickback and smoke from my blade because I honestly need to change this blade out, but it got the job done. I am so tired. Whew, this is live. After dry fitting the front and back of my frame, it was time to measure, cut, and dry fit the sides as well. And after cutting all of my necessary pieces for this frame, I drilled the pocket hole screws on the top and bottom of all of my supports. Now it was time to move on to the top, and it was very important for me to see if everything was still leveled. I then moved on to securing my frame to the studs in the wall. I discovered that the top of my frame wasn't as square as it should be, and honestly it was no fault of my own. I later discovered that the wall itself wasn't as square, so I adjusted my frame just a little bit. I'm using this hardboard for the inside, and I'm actually going to use the more smoother side of this. This side is a little textured, but we're going to use this for the inside of the bench. I'm not too worried about the color. I'm not going to paint it. Nobody's ever going to really see the inside of it, and if they do, it's going to be closed up anyway. So we're going to cut this down. All right, let's get started. All right, so we're going to measure our hardboard. Y'all, I have this entire garage dusty, and I think I'm about to put on my bonnet because I don't want my hair to get messed up. All right, bonnet is secure, and we're going to make sure we all covered up. Now it's time to give my bench a more clean look, so I cut out some 1/4 inch MDF to hide the 2x4s. At this point, I needed to figure out what I wanted to do with my bench top, so we splurged just a little and went with a butcher block. To me, this would be so aesthetically pleasing compared to using a cheaper wood. So I ended up going with the beach butcher block from Floor & Decor. I didn't record this entire process because I was really nervous about messing this up. Butcher block is not cheap and you only get one try. I used some extra tile we had laying around to help me make straight cuts. Big shout out to my husband for giving me this idea. Originally, I wanted it to be all one piece and I didn't want to cut into the wood, but because butcher block is so heavy and the fact that I wanted it to be a lift top storage bench, it would be extremely hard to access the storage below. So I had to cut it to where I can add hinges and gas struts later. So FYI, my cuts were great, but my blade burned the edges of my wood. It was a bit disappointing, but on the bright side, you won't really see it unless you lifted it up and examined the sides. So I give myself a solid C. After all my dry fits, it was time to condition the butcher block. Doing this protects my butcher block by creating a protective barrier against moisture, stains, and everyday wear and tear. I needed to let those dry, so I moved on to more framing. I didn't want my bench to look so plain in the front, so I used some leftover MDF and added decorative trim. My thought process was to add a fake door to the right and a fake drawer in the middle. The other side would just be plain. These slats would act as the door in which I would add a knob later. Next, I added more trim at the top and I also added the fake drawer. I honestly did not make sure if it was straight or not, but it didn't look so bad, so I think it was okay. Now it's time to pick out paint colors. I wanted to go with gray, which will really complement the tile. So I ended up picking a really deep gray, which was called High Speed Steel. Before painting, I did a light sand and caulked in some areas. I'm really terrible at caulking, y'all. I went in with this art brush to kind of be very careful to not paint on the wall. After putting on my second coat of paint, it was time to install the partition. And here we have it, our 54-inch glass partition. Y'all, I am so excited to put this up. Like, it's been so long. But for me, safety is first, and I had to make sure that this glass was tempered. Unlike regular glass, tempered glass is way more stronger, and if it ever broke, it would break into small, harmless pieces. And believe it or not, I found this glass on Facebook Marketplace for only $25. A new one from a glass shop would have cost $100 or more. The seller told me that it was a former tabletop, but it was in really, really good condition. This project was definitely ambitious, especially working with such a large piece of glass. And after consulting and researching and hitting countless of dead ends, I soon learned that all I needed was a metal U-channel for the base of my glass. But finding the right U-channel was very, very challenging. Local options didn't have what I needed. I even tried some specialized shops that quoted me over $200. Thankfully, I found DK Hardware online. They came through with exactly what I needed. It wasn't $200. It was probably a fraction of that. No sponsorship here, but I just want to give a genuine shout out because I was able to make this happen. So right here, I am attempting to tint the glass. I thought it would give a more modern, sleek look. And then the other side of the mug closet, you won't be able to see coats and things like that hung up. So I thought a tinted glass would give us that effect. But the more I put this on, the more I lost interest in tinting the glass anyway. And again, this material was so cheap. It was only like $10. So I decided to discard this idea altogether. Next, I'm measuring the glass to determine the exact size for the U-channel. To make cutting the channel a lot easier, I'm using some cutting oil to lubricate both the jigsaw blade and the U-channel. And honestly, I end up cutting the channel just a little bit longer just to be on the safe side. Now I'm creating pilot holes so that I can screw my U-channel to the bench. I'm also using a few glass holders to secure the glass to the wall for extra support, while the U-channel holds it horizontally. My initial pilot holes were a little bit too small for my screws. And to make things a lot easier, I drilled slightly larger pilot holes off camera so that I could finally secure the U-channel. I also added a foam weather strip to the U-channel for extra cushion. This will protect the glass from direct contact with the screws and potentially breaking. After screwing my U-channel to the bench, it was time to add my glass clamps to the wall. And this is how the glass look, y'all. It is so gorgeous. I love the way this looks. If I could, I would leave this just like this. And I know y'all see it, but do y'all really see this? It looks so good. And I do want to add that off camera, I did add more 2x4s underneath where the glass sits for additional support. Next, I'm planning the placement of the top shelf. To avoid any pressure on the glass, I'm carefully measuring the distance above it because there is no way I'm risking this glass getting cracked. Now it's time to cut this shelf down to size. I grabbed a simple white melamine board from Home Depot. It's the perfect understated piece to complement our stunning glass partition. I'm also adding some white brackets to support the shelf. I then enlisted the help of my favorite muscle-bound assistant, otherwise known as my husband, to help me put up this shelf. And it was done. Now I'm conditioning my bench once more. Doing a second coat really deepened the color of the wood. Next up, I'm measuring and cutting these gold hinges. I went with gold to match the house's accent color, and it complements the butcher block perfectly. So I just want to give a huge shout out to Ray at Ace Hardware in Evergreen Park. He really helped me think through the process of installing these hinges. His customer service was top notch. So y'all go visit Ray at Ace Hardware in Evergreen Park. This butcher block was really heavy, and securing the hinges to the bench was going to be very challenging. Now I'm just securing the other side of the piano hinge to the bench. I then moved on to the smaller side of the bench top. After securing the bench tops, it was time to tackle the coat hanging situation. I wanted a clean look without the clutter of traditional hangers, so I came up with a hybrid idea, a coat pole with S-hooks. This way I can maintain a sleek aesthetic while still having the functionality of hooks. I wanted the wall behind the seating bench to be black, so I'm taking this large paper and taping it on the wall to appear as if it's painted. I didn't feel like painting, so I thought this would be a great idea, and the tape really elevates the black paper and adds a little shine and sophistication. And this is how it looks so far. The black paper had a few wrinkles in it, but I felt like it added texture and dark character. It also had a touch of artistic flair with a small rip at the top. This is such a great alternative to painting, and if I wanted to change the color, I can just change the paper and add a different color. I really love the look of this black wall. So that whole black paper wall thing was a bit of a joke. I'm actually repurposing it as a base for my grass wall. The black will help hide the gaps between the grass tiles. Plus, I'm avoiding the hassle of painting a dark wall that I might want to change in the future. My idea was to create an outdoor oasis indoors, especially since we don't have a front window. That's why I decided to add a grass wall. It's a small way to bring a bit of the outside inside. I only used thumbtacks to secure the grass tiles to the wall. It was an effective way to avoid so many large holes in the wall. Minimum damage, maximum impact. Next to the grass wall, I used faux brick sheets to complete the indoor-outdoor oasis vibe. I was skeptical at first, but these things are seriously sticky, but it looks so amazing. I can't believe how well they blend together. Now I'm adding 2 brown shells to the brick side of the wall. On the opposite side, I'm adding some gold J-hooks. Shout out to Marco at Lowe's for helping me pick the perfect ones out. There's a mix of gold shades in the closet, but it all comes together in the end. I then installed gold hardware for the faux drawer and door, and it's so amazing how much detail these add to complete this illusion. These are the S-hooks that will go around a pole, and they will give it a perfect blend of a coat pole and functional hooks. These were really snugged around the pole, so I had no worries of them falling off. Before styling, I added these beechwood coat hooks to the other side along the grass wall. They're so perfect because the butcher block is beechwood and it really ties the whole look together. Lastly, I did some touch-up paint. I added some wicker baskets, some decor, and this closet was finally finished. Before the big reveal, let's take a quick trip down memory lane to see how this closet started. Oh my god, y'all, I am absolutely thrilled with how this mudroom closet turned out. Bringing a touch of the outdoors inside was definitely the right move. This has been a very fun end of summer project, and I can't wait to decorate this space for every season and holiday. I mean, the possibilities are endless.